Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jason White, and this is Jason's Weird Reads. Thank you for joining me. Um, so every year I tend to do the mid-year freakout tag, and this year is no different. I'm going to be doing that right now. So let's get right into it, shall we? Best book you've read so far in 2020, and I had to think about this one. This one wasn't easy to answer, but I'm gonna go with Darkest Hours by Mike Thorne. I just had a lot of fun reading this book. It's a collection of short stories, and it was re-released recently. And I talked to Mike Thorne on my channel, and you can see the whole thing up there somewhere. And I'll link it down there as well. I had a lot of fun talking with Mike, and we seemed to click. It was really cool, but I really clicked with his stories as well. They were just they have a dark sense of humor to them, and they're just a lot of fun to read. I highly recommend reading it if you haven't yet. It's out now, and you can go get the ebook, and I believe the physical book as well. And the first part is short stories. The second part are collection of critical essays on horror movies. So definitely check that out. Question number 2: the best sequel you've read. The best sequel you've read so far in 2021. And I'm gonna go with Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. There's only really 2 books I could have chose for this one, and it would have been this one, Memories of Ice, or Dead House Gates. I really enjoyed my time reading Memories of Ice much more than I did Dead House Gates. Dead House Gates was a real struggle for me because I listened to the entire thing on audiobook, and I don't think that's maybe such a great idea for the first time around. But not much else I can add to that. But there is no other books that I read this year that were sequels, so it was either one of the 2. But I really enjoyed Memories of Ice. That was a lot of fun. So, and it's very, very dark, and well, so is Dead House Gates. I mean, my God, Dead House, that ending. But same with Memories of Ice. It's just like, holy cow, like, wow. There's very intense things happening in that series, let me tell you. Question number 3: new release you haven't read yet but want to. I'm very bad with new releases usually. This year actually has been pretty good for me reading new releases, but there's one book that I think sounds interesting, and it's The Lost Village by Camilla Sten, and it's a translated work, so I don't really know too much about it, but I like the title, and I like that it's translated, and it sounds kind of spooky from what I have read about it, so I'm going to use that as my answer. Question number 4: most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and that is an easy one for me, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I believe the release date for this, at least in Canada, is August the 1st or thereabouts, and I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Question 5: what's your biggest disappointment in 2021? And this one I had to struggle with too, because I haven't really read anything yet that I just didn't like this year so far, which is good, right? But there is one book that kind of landed a little flat on me, and so it's a novella, and it's Rolling in the Deep by Myra Grant. This is the sequel to her other mermaid book, which the name is escaping me right now. But like I said, it wasn't bad. It really felt like plot points put together. It just felt thrown together, honestly. And it felt like an expanded version of plot points, except for maybe the first quarter. Once you get into like what's going on, then it really feels like by the numbers. There's no. It's not even really all that fun. Like I said, it just fell flat for me. The first book I really enjoyed, but Rolling in the Deep, I was just I was bored. Biggest surprise of 2021 so far is The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bythell. I really enjoyed listening to this audiobook. I've always wanted to work in a bookshop because if it could pay the bills, it would be the perfect job. But it's interesting seeing what it's like working in a bookshop when you own it, and all the interesting things that happen. This book is, I believe it's nonfiction, or at least it's very close. If it is fictionalized, it's very close to real life, but I don't think so. I think it is real. But it basically just follows like short little entries for I think it's approximately a year of this bookshop, and it's a pretty famous bookshop, and I think it was made even more famous because of this book. And I recommend it just to see what it's like to own a bookshop, and sometimes the dumb questions people who work there get. Favorite new author, debut, or new to you? And I'm going to go with Mike Thorne on this. As I said, I really enjoyed talking with him, but I even more so enjoyed reading his work. It's I think this is an author that we need to pay attention to. I think he's going places. He's got quite the voice, writing voice, and there's a real grimness in his work. I was talking earlier that there's a lot of dark comedy in his work, and yes, there is, but if you read Shelter for the Damned, there's some funny stuff that happens in that novella, but it's a really grim piece of cosmic fiction, and I really love that. And yeah, so Mike Thorne for sure. Newest fictional crush. I don't know why I even ask this question, because it's the same thing every year. I don't get fictional crushes. Newest favorite character. I almost said something similar to this, but then I was looking through the list of the books I've read so far this year, and I had to go with Ruby Miller from Girl on Fire, another novella written by Gemma Amor. Ruby Miller is she's a serious badass. You don't want to fuck with her because she will kill you with fire, and she won't even think twice about it, honestly. A book that made you cry. My answer for this is I Have No Soul. None. Now there's some people who, like, especially the Malazan crowd, they would arch their eyebrow at that because both Memories of Ice and Deadhouse Gates, I was told, would crank on the tears, but that didn't happen for me. I was devastated sometimes, but I didn't cry. I don't really cry all that often when reading books. I mean, it has happened, and it will happen again, but for some reason those books just didn't do that for me. So I Have No Soul. Question 11. A book that made you happy. I went with Later by Stephen King because of I've talked about this fairly a lot this year so far. In reading that book, it reminded me of another novella of his that I really enjoyed from Hearts in Atlantis, and that's Low Men in Yellow Coats. And it sort of brought back the feelings I had while reading that for the first time. And so I really enjoyed Later. And yeah, it made me happy. Not the ending so much. The way the story itself wrapped up, but there's this little piece at the end that a lot of booktubers have talked about that's just like, why is that there? And I agree. It didn't really need to be there. It would have worked just fine without it. It almost felt like it was stapled on, and that never feels good. Question 12. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received, and I haven't really bought too many books this year. Not physical ones anyway. When I started the year, I wanted to go on a book buying ban because my shelves, well, they're overrun and we have run out of room to store them. So So I have failed in that task. I have bought some books, and I have been, I got some books for like Father's Day and whatnot, but none of them were like especially beautiful, you know. And last question, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I went with anything from my 21 books to read in 2021 because I haven't read any of them yet. And we're halfway through. That's 21 books. If I was to meet my goal, I'd have to read those 21 books by December, and I don't think that's going to happen. This is why I don't like making TBR lists, because I rarely, if ever, stick to them. But I have those books sitting over there on the shelf all together, so I can go and pick any one of them at any time, and I probably won't. Alright, so that is my mid-year freakout tag. Thank you for watching. Keep being safe, and keep being creative, and I'll catch you guys in the next bookish video.